So in problem 9, we first have to figure out net income for July using the cash basis of accounting. And under the cash basis of accounting, you recognize revenues when they're received in cash, you recognize expenses when they're paid for in cash. And we're not learning the cash basis of accounting in this class because big companies that are publicly traded, they're not allowed to use the cash basis of accounting per GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles. But it's still a good exercise to do this so that you can clearly see the difference between cash basis accounting and the method that we are learning, the accrual basis. So to answer A, we'll go through these one by one. Here, where we provided services on account, we would not include this revenue because we have not yet received it in cash. However, we would count this as revenue because we're getting this cash. And we would also count the $1,700 as revenue because we are getting the cash in July, even though we're not providing the services until August. With cash basis accounting, that doesn't matter. You just look at when you're getting the cash. And we did get it, so we're going to count that as revenue. Same with this $4,300 in cash. That amount was for services provided in June, but again, we're getting the cash in July, so we're going to count it as revenue in July using cash basis accounting. And then for the expenses, here we paid June's warehouse rental bill on account. So we're paying the $1,200 in July. It was for the month of June, but that doesn't matter with cash basis accounting. We're paying the cash in July, so it's an expense in July. And then finally, we received a bill in July, but we're not going to pay it till later. Well, since we're not paying it in July, we will not count this as an expense in July. So once you figured out which revenue amounts to include and which expense amounts to include, you total up the revenues, subtract the expense, and your answer is cash basis net income. So then for B, you're asked to figure out net income again, but this time using accrual basis accounting. So now it doesn't matter when we get the cash or when we pay the cash. What matters is when did we earn the revenues? When did we incur the expenses? So going back through the list again, here we provided services, and so we earned this revenue, and we would need to include it in our accrual basis net income. Here we received cash, and it was for services provided in July, so we get to count this as revenue in July. But the $1,700 in cash, that was for services to be provided in August. So this is going to be deferred revenue in July. We're not going to count this as revenue until August when we provide the services. And then this cash, we're getting the cash in July, but it was for services that we provided in June. And we would have recognized this amount as revenue in June back when we performed the services. So we don't want to double count it. We're not going to count it as revenue again in July. And then here we're paying June's warehouse rental bill. Well, that means we incurred that expense in June. So we need to recognize the expense in June, not in July. And then finally here, this is July's warehouse rental bill. So this is a July expense under accrual basis accounting, even though we're not going to pay it until later.